Yo, yo, it's Max, the original Flowgrammer, and welcome to the second studio update. As always, it's been a busy week in the automation minds. In this episode, I met with Angel to check in on his MITRE ATT&CK assistant, and I've also got a walkthrough of a critical but often overlooked feature in n8n. And Oumnya from CloudStation was gracious enough to show me an agentic workflow she built for automating the production of video content. Speaking of creating video content, Sanjeev sent me a DM. Thanks a lot, mate, appreciate it. He showed me a solution. He's working on also automating video content, so it seems like a popular use case. And I really appreciate the message, Sanjeev. When you're putting your face out there on the internet, you're not sure if anyone's watching. When someone overcomes the friction of like finding you online, sending you a message, it really means a lot. All right, let's do some studio project updates. Since Angel's been hard at work on his MITRE ATT&CK assistant, sat down with him to get the skinny and make sure he's earning those billable hours. Let's go to Arizona. Hey, Angel, how's it going, man?
Hey, going well. How about you, Max?
Really busy week, but the good kind. How about you?
Same, man, same.
How's your week been, man?
It's been good. Like you, it's been pretty busy. I've been working on a few different projects, not just the ones for studio. I actually just finished recording my first webinar for a series we're doing here called n8n at scale. So I'm really excited about that. The goal here is going to be to create a webinar series to help larger enterprise IT ops organizations to make the best use of n8n to help kind of connect different departments together. It should be available online. Our first episode is pre-recorded, so we'll be able to have a link to that. And then the goal from there is to start the actual live webinar series.
Very cool. And you're a much bolder man than I. I'm not going to be doing any live streaming of the weekly show anytime soon. That's all good and well. But I think to do justice to our esteemed boss, Luis Guzman, let's talk shop. How's your projects doing?
I do worry I might have bitten off a little more than I can chew here, but I'm excited. I'm learning a lot. It has been a really cool experience. So I'll dive right into it. So currently, a lot of these larger organizations that have cybersecurity teams have these appliances in the back end that are just hoovering up alerts. These things are called SIMs. And these alerts can be a little overwhelming. You're getting hundreds a day. And a lot of these like go straight into a ticketing system, and some poor cybersecurity team has to wade through all of these tickets and decide what's priority. It got me thinking there's got to be an AI layer that we can put in between these engineers and the ticketing system to help make their lives a little bit easier. Because I don't know about
You're speaking my
you, but
language, Angel. You're speaking my language.
you get it. Exactly. So the hope here is to help kind of give these engineers a tool to help speed up their work so they can do the fun stuff, because there's a lot of fun stuff to do in the cybersecurity side of this, but it's always the manual stuff that makes you want to just throw your hands up and quit. You know, there's a back end framework called MITRE ATT&CK that gives you a catalog of all of these different attack types and remediation tactics that you can use to triage and fix some of these issues in real time. Problem is, as I later found out, is that this file is huge. We're talking almost 50 megs of JSON. You can imagine.
50 megs of text.
Yeah.
That's not like a book. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my initial results were not very promising, as you can imagine. They did not fit in the context window.
Were you just piping it right into the context? Okay, got you.
Yeah. I tried a few other things, like trying a semantic query of a database that has it to try to get the data back. But again, difficult to do. I mean, it's doable, but I started looking into some of these best practices. Discovered is that this might be a very good use case for a vector store. And so a lot of what I've been doing this week is taking that giant JSON file, cleaning it up because it has a lot of extraneous data in there, and then creating a database that can then be fed into this vector store. And then from there, giving it access to the AI agent. It has been a learning process, let me tell you. So my eventual hope is to have a vector store created that we can utilize to connect to the AI agent to power up your cybersecurity team, give them access to this tool that they can then plug into their n8n instance, pipe in your Jira tickets, have it create triage reports for your team to utilize as your starting point.
First off, very cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing the end result of that. I see one thing that could be really cool once that's up is imagine if we made that vector store publicly available. So other people
You're
could
reading my mind.
take their AI agents, plug into it. Yeah. Because when you were thinking, one of the first things you said was Jira, and my mind was like, okay, or any other, it could be a ticketing system, could
Yes.
not be. But that's like a really trivial thing to swap out under the hood, right? All that business logic that's got nothing to do with figuring out how to properly ingest MITRE ATT&CK into a vector store by best practice, completely decoupled. So looking very much forward to that, brother. And if you need any help on the Qdrant side, I am doing a webinar with Jenny from Qdrant next week. I can link you guys if you've got any questions as you're going through it. You can get it straight
I
from the
would
source.
love that. That would be wonderful. I came into this with this sense of confidence that I don't know where it came from because I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. Take some JSON, sprinkle a little bit of vector magic on it, and you're good. And I'm quickly realizing it's a little bit more complex than that. I want to help these, white hat hacking triage teams make their jobs easier to help them essentially reduce the amount of deployment needed to be able to get a tool like this up and running. If we can take away that research side for them, I think they'll appreciate it. That's my hope.
Exactly. That's what I'm realizing kind of in my role. And I think your role, a lot of it is, okay, a lot of people are writing some stuff about something. Go do the thing, learn, hit your head against the wall because something's brand new and there's no docs on it. But like figure it out, give people the real, scoop. And then see all the awesome things they get to do because they didn't have to have that like tax time of figuring out the stuff that really drains you. So yeah, I agree. And I'm really looking forward to that. From my side, I had some really good progress on this building AI agents tutorial series. So the part 1 came out last week. It's doing really well. I'm working on part 2 right now. There was a few challenges with that. My neighbor, I don't know if they're renovating or digging a new Euro channel. There was a moment this week where I was recording steps in the tutorial in between each drill. So it was like, zzz, and then we drag and drop the zzz. So it's going to come out next week, early next week. And so it was going to have 2 parts. I start off by showing the app AI tools. And then I was also going to cover the sub workflow tool. So that's the tool that lets you use any n8n workflow as a tool in your AI agent. So super powerful, right? Because you can basically do anything with it. The thing is, I chatted with the Adore squad and they're working on an overhaul of the sub workflow stuff. Now, not a single product manager in the world would appreciate giving a public release date on that. So I'm not going to do that to the squad, but I saw a quick peek of it. It's looking really good. And as soon as that drops, I'm going to do a deep dive on the sub workflow executions. So next week's going to be the app AI tools. And then from there, I'm going to collect some feedback and see what people want to see next. Do we go deeper into tools? Do we focus on structured output? Looking forward to it. And it's really fun making this tutorial content.
We might need to partner up a little bit.
But Angel and I actually both going to be in Barcelona next week for a little offsite with the squad. And afterwards, Angel, you're coming to Berlin, right?
That's right. I'm looking forward to it.
Brother, we got to build something in person together. It'd be a missed opportunity.
Agreed. I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm looking to see what kind of magic we create together.
Hell yeah, man. Well, on that note, I don't think these flows are going to flow themselves. So I recommend we both get back to the automation mines and get back to work.
I like that. Yep. That sounds good, man. I'll meet you there.
Have a great rest of your week, Angel. And looking forward to catching up with you next week for another
Happy
update.
flowgramming, Max.
You too. I think we crushed it. Thanks so much, Angel. Really cool stuff. And before the next segment, I find it behooves me to address some scandalous, salacious rumors that I see from time to time out on the interwebs, on the likes of Reddit, LinkedIn, and that sort of thing. These rumors stem around a falsehood that our esteemed competitor, Make.com, formerly known as Integromat, is cheaper than our cloud product. To use a diplomatic term, it's just not true. Make bills by what they call operations, right? So Make has operations and we have executions. And the root problem here is that people compare them one-to-one, apples to apples. What is a Make operation? A Make operation, to my understanding, is counted every time one item of data is processed through one node. Well, I think they call them modules, but anyways. So if you pull a Google Sheet with 100 rows, like very normal, common thing you're doing, and you run that through an if step to filter it. So you got 2 steps, 100 items, 2 times 100, that's 200 operations. A more extreme example, but again, a very normal use case and scenario. You got 5 steps, you pull in 1,000 rows, that's 5,000 operations in Make. Now, in my favorite automation tool, lovingly known as n8n, it's a bit of a different story. So we charge by execution. So when the entire workflow completes running. So you got 20 steps processing 5,000 items of data, that's 1. You've got 2 steps processing 1 item data, that's 1. So in the example, we got 5 steps, 1,000 items running through each step. In Make, that's 5,000 operations, and in n8n, that's 1 workflow. Now, There is a competitor that also claims they make you happier. They have a very similar pricing structure to Make. Now look, I'm not here to talk smack about our competitor's pricing model. That is their prerogative. But what I will not have is n8n's honor impugned online by falsehoods. Obviously on our side, we got to do a bit more on making that clearer. But yeah, consider this a public service announcement. Now, we chose execution level pricing because what technical person wants their finance team to say, hey, can you make a bunch of terrible architectural decisions in your work so we can save a few bucks? I never want any of our users to ever have to do that. All that being said, I think this is probably a perfect segue to show my super amazing coupon code for n8n Cloud. So if you're trying out n8n, you want to try out our cloud product, we got the self-host product. You can host it for free, no problem. Obviously, that comes with a health warning of know what you're doing. If you don't know what a terminal is, I might not recommend self-hosting. So if you'd like to try cloud, remember max 50, MAX50. That's going to get you 12 months off n8n Cloud, any of the standard plans for free. And all you got to do is when you complete your trial and picking a plan, use my coupon code through the checkout flow. So that's max50, MAX50. And rant, I feel a lot better. Thank you for that. Okay. Well, what do we got? Check this out. There's a feature of n8n that's been around for a while and I use every single time I'm building, and I don't know what I would do without it. I've met a few community members at this point that are even using n8n for some months and they're not really aware of it, or they're not exactly sure how to leverage it for their workflow building. And so today we're going to have a look at the pin data feature. The most classic case where this feature is useful is when you're starting your workflow and you need to get some data in your trigger node. And for a lot of triggers in n8n, you need to be listening for that event, go into that system and go create that event. So sometimes that's easy, right? Other times it's more difficult. For example, a subscription canceled event, you may have to go simulate that and go clean up your production records and stuff. So let's save you a boatload of time when you're building your workflows and check out the pin data feature. So I'm in my workflow canvas, and let's say I've just set up my trigger node and now I want to test it to fetch in some data, right? A classic first step. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's listen for test event. Now I'm going to go over to another n8n workflow to simulate this, but let's assume this is something like Stripe, right? So I've got a subscription deleted event that I want to fetch because let's say that's the trigger event for this workflow. So let me just run this step. Okay, that was run. And now we can see in the workflow I'm actually building, we fetch that data in schema view. We can see there's a bunch of header data, parameters, query. There's this big complicated body in here, right? And so what's going to happen now is if I test the workflow again, let's say I click this button, it's going to clear that data and now it's waiting again. So let's say that, again, that event was difficult to fetch. That's going to be a bit annoying to do. So let's just run this again and get that data back in here. We can see it's executed. And again, we got the data in here. What I can do is click this pin icon right here, pin data. So now that the data is pinned and it shows up as purple in the canvas, each time I mash the test workflow button, it's just going to output that pinned data. Now, the neat thing is if I save my workflow and refresh my tab, this persists between sessions, right? So I can come back to this a week later and continue working on it. Let's take that one step further, right? So a strategy you see a lot of users doing, let's say we add a no-op node here, and let's say this represents the rest of my workflow. This data I have pinned here, this is now a case in my workflow, right? This is the subscription canceled event, right? But let's say my workflow is actually supposed to handle multiple events, multiple cases. Let's say we also need to handle the subscription created event. So what I could do is duplicate this workflow. Let's rename it to subscription created. And let's listen for a test event. It's going to give me a warning to unpin the data. And now that we're listening, let's go back into this utility flow, deactivate that event, turn this one on and run this. Okay, so now that that's run, again, my subscription created event now has the schema for my subscription created event. So let's go ahead and pin that as well. So now I have this pinned in my workflow and I can attach it here. So what I see a lot of users doing is they might deactivate this node. So now when I run my test workflow, just this one's going to run. If I deactivate this and activate this, same thing. We see a lot of users when you got a production flow, it's launched from time to time. You need to test it. You need to modify it. It's good to have your common cases in your workflow. And I see a lot of users modeling it exactly like this. So that's a really common way to use the pin data feature. Now, another great example is the edit data feature, which is related to pinning. So let's have a look at that. So if I open this up and let's say let's unpin this. So let's say this data is in my workflow and we just fetched it in, but I want to tweak some information in here to test later in my workflow. Let's say the thing that I want to change or test is really difficult to do in my source system. It requires me to clean up a lot of data or maybe wait for a certain lifecycle event, but I might know what that data will look like once that happens. I can simulate that with the edit button. So if I click the edit button, in here I get an editable version of the output data of my node. So again, each n8n node outputs an array of items. Each top level object in this array is counted as an item. So in here I can see I've got my item of data, and let's say that we wanted to change this to cancelled. We could go ahead and do that, and once we click save, it's going to automatically pin anything that I edit. So that's how the editing and pinning features related. And similarly, if I add, let's say, another webhook trigger just to my workflow here, what we can also do is set mock data, which is the same as this button here. And what this does is it opens up the editing window that we saw before with a placeholder in here, just so you can kind of see a guide for the structure that you need to add in here. So let's say I was in my workflow, or very often I'm in API docs for something and I've got an example response. I can actually go ahead and copy that and paste it in. You just got to make sure that you're getting a valid structure in here. So what I copied was just an object in these brackets. So I had to make sure that it's within my array, or you'll get an error when you save. So now when I save that, we've got the exact same end result, just inputted through a different way. And then the one last feature I'll call out that's interacted with the pinning feature is the copy to editor feature. So once you've started running your workflow, it's going to create executions. Here we can see all those executions that I just ran. And now these are all test executions, but once your workflow is activated, production executions will also show here. And let's say this was a production execution that for me was interesting. I wanted to modify one on my workflow. Very often a production execution shows like an edge case where you want to tweak something because your workflow is not accounting for that case. You can then click the copy to editor button right here. And when I click that, it will give you a warning to unpin any data that you have had pinned, because it's going to pin your trigger node here. It's not going to pin the rest of the nodes, but it will pin the trigger node. Now, I've just showed you pinning in trigger nodes. You can pin almost any other node in n8n. So let's say this was a downstream node in my workflow. I could also go ahead and pin that. Pinning non-trigger nodes downstream doesn't happen as often in a lot of workflow building, but a great case for doing it is when you're dealing with rate-limited APIs or APIs that have a cost per use. So let's say it's like an enrichment API like Clearbit. You might run that once, use one API credit, but then when you're running it the other 50 times as you're building a workflow, why would you want to run the exact same code that's going to give you the exact same result? Doesn't make any sense. So that'd be another case for using pinning. A few things to call out. If you have binary data in your node data that is images, files, or text, so this isn't a URL to an image or file or an actual file in the output data, you won't be able to pin that at this time. If that's something that you'd like added, make sure to go to community.n8n.io and you can add a feature request for that there. So yeah, that was pinning. Super simple feature, but really, really powerful, especially if you understand kind of how it works and when you're supposed to use it. If you've got any follow-up questions about pinning, make sure to drop a comment and I can try and follow up in the next episode.
Ooh, nice job, Max. I think you nailed that. Nailed that one, especially since you started recording it only a day before it was due. Nice one. Next up, Oumnya Benhasu, CEO of CloudFront, CEO of CloudStation, and massive open source advocate, was kind enough to walk me through her AI agent that helps her generate video content for her socials in a snap. Let's take a look.
Hey Oumnya, how's it going?
Nice to see you.
Likewise. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Great. So Oumnya, could you introduce yourself for all the folks at home?
So my name is Oumnya. I've been in the tech industry for the last 10 years. I've done some automation and I've built some software. And right now I'm running a past company called CloudStation. And I like to spend time automating stuff using n8n.
That's fantastic. We're big fans of automation at n8n, as you can imagine. And I heard that you've got a pretty interesting use case for us today. Oumnya, could you explain to us your use case at a high level and what inspired you to make it?
So my use case is just creating content with just a simple Slack message, because I use Slack all the time and it's a simple messaging system that already exists. And the second thing about my use case is I only use open source software, open source AI, and n8n.
Very cool. And when you mention content, what kind of content are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, so we're talking about video content specifically. It could be shorts or it could be some kind of a long format videos, so like a small YouTube videos, stories, and stuff like that.
Very cool. And have you already started using this use case, or is this still kind of being built out?
I just started building it a week ago, so it's still on a very early stage, but it does work. I do have videos that I did not edit at all. I just need to, make it more perfect for the people that want to use it.
That's amazing. I think that's like a perfect segue to having a look at the flow. Could you show us what you built?
Yes, sir.
This is exciting stuff, guys. Oumnya gave me a little sneak peek of this earlier, and it's pretty mind-blowing. So, Oumnya,
Right.
please take it away.
So my AI is called Spectra. I like to name my agents because I respect them a little bit. So Spectra is a content creator that can generate content from any sentence or any prompts. I am working on it so that I can give it articles or even long videos and that it can generate short form videos out of them. For now, it just takes a prompt and it creates a video out of it. Do you want me to show you a simple example?
Yes, please. Yeah, let's see it in action first so everyone can see the magic part, and then we can break down how it works under the hood.
All right, so as I said, it works using Slack. So I'm gonna go to Slack. All right, so this is Spectra. All I have to do is ask her, Spectra, ask her to create a video about, do you have an idea in your mind?
Let's create a video about, wow, this is stumping me. Okay, a video about workflow automation. Well, right, we got to do something workflow automation related. Oh, how about how workflow automation is evolving with the advent of AI? How about that?
Workflow automation is evolving. So once Spectra gets the message, it's just gonna send me a message telling me that she got it, so that I don't just wait if there's an error or something like that. And once it does, I'm gonna show you some of the videos that it did generate before. So this one is about how Netflix changed entertainment. Before I do that, I need you, Max, to do something for me. Do you consent on giving me your voice for this video?
Oh my God, is it in my voice? Oh no, you didn't. You did not
It
just,
did.
oh my goodness.
Boost your memory. Here are three powerful techniques that actually work. First, use visualization. Create vivid mental images for things you want to remember. Second, try the chunking method. Break long information into smaller, manageable groups. Finally, practice active recall by testing yourself instead of just rereading.
It's a little bit out of sync, but you get the gist of it.
Like, you said you've been working on this like a week. I'm guessing not full time, right? You have like your whole startup
Yeah,
to
I
run
hope
and
it
stuff.
does
Like, yeah, that this is
Yeah.
truly like, guys. I had no idea she's gonna use my voice in this. This is an authentic reaction right now. Okay, wild stuff.
So same, yeah. These are other videos that I created, but while it's doing the magic with the one that we're doing right now, I can show you the workflow.
Please do.
All
That's
right?
very exciting.
So this is Spectra. She has access to many agents to help her with her work. She has access to a scripter agent, a audio generator agent, a prompt generator agent, and a video combiner agent. So I'm gonna open up so that I can show you all the prompts. It's a pretty big prompt, but it has a lot of job to do.
Could you walk us through the prompt? And I think the most helpful thing would be walk us through like the key parts in the prompt through your lens.
Yeah, so full disclosure, I'm writing my prompts using AI. I'm
Awesome,
not a
awesome.
math
Me too. Me too.
prompter.
Everyone I've met is also doing that too.
Yeah, so basically I always start with the role and goal. That way it knows what it needs to do. And then the flow is, in this particular case, the agent needs to start by creating the script, and then the other stuff can go in parallel. For example, the audio generated agent and the prompt generator agent can work together, but the rest, it has to flow in the right direction so that at the end we go to the video combiner agent. So that's what the prompt does. So I'm specifically saying which steps to do first and which steps can be done in parallel. Also, at the end, I do add some important considerations. So, for example, I want to ensure that the script ID is consistent across all agents so that it doesn't just start hallucinating stuff. I did do that. I did try that. It does not work. So it's important to add these kind of consideration to it. I asked it to do some error handling. So before I made all these scripts come to life, all these agents come to life, I did it step by step. So I created the script agents first, and then the image agent second, and so I didn't do it all together at the same time. But I created this prompt at first. So when I was testing it the first couple of times, let me show you. It was like, for example, here we have an error with the combiner tool. So it sends me that there's an error and it can try again. I'm going to ask it to try again. Let's do it. If there's an error, I get every detail of the error so I can know what's going on and I can fix it. All right. So this is the main prompt that does all of this. The first thing that the agent does is it goes to the scripter agent. The scripter agent is also just an AI agent.
Basically, the parent agent is calling another agent, but it's using that agent as an AI tool.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
So here's the scripts agent. It has access to Anthropic to create the scripts, just because I think it's the best for stuff like this. And then it has access to two tools. The database for this is NoCoDB. And so yeah, the first tool is to create the script in NoCoDB. And then the second is to create the sentences. So I split the script into small sentences, small chunks, so that I can easily pass it to the image prompt generator to create an image that would go along with the sentence. I couldn't make it work with the NoCoDB tool, so I just use the HTTP request tool, which works just as fine. So just a quick tip, if something doesn't work, use the HTTP request tool. The script agent prompt, it has a role and goal exactly like the other ones do. This one is responsible solely for creating the script, nothing else. It has access to the NoCoDB to save the script and the split and save sentences. It also needs to return the script ID, so this is crucial. So I needed to return it this way. That way I can send it back to the mother AI agent and continue with the workflow.
So basically what you've set up there in that tool is that you're allowing the AI agent to decide like what parameters to fill, and then it's kind of doing that independently for you. Very cool
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
Could we have a quick peek at what the result looks like in NoCoDB once this step runs?
Yes, right. So this is my NoCoDB instance, and this is the content database. It has table scripts, sentences, image prompts, audio files, image, and Atlas video. The script this is how it looks like. So once the script is done processing, I get the script content here, and then the status of of it, and then it's split into the sentences. But the reason everything is in the status pending is because I don't want to post anything without checking it first. And that's where the next automation is going to come, is if I move it to complete, it's going to automatically share the video to whatever platform I choose.
By this stage, the script is written, it's been chopped up into sentences, and you have it in NoCoDB, which is your source of truth, right? That's where we're at this stage in the workflow.
Exactly, yes. This is the audio agent. It has the same kind of prompts that the other agents have. So roll and go. I try and keep all my agents have a very small set of instructions to do, so that they don't start hallucinating, and I get better results with doing this. It has the responsibility to generate the audio and then to store them into NoCoDB, and then to store the audio files in MinIO. So this is another open source software that I'm using to store the files that I generate. So it has access to the get sentence tool to get the sentence by script ID, and then the link audio with sentence, so that once the audio is generated, it's linked with the script ID. And then the most important part is the audio generator tool, which calls the LLM model, which is in this case F5TTS, which is a small model that can be hosted pretty much everywhere. But in my case, I'm hosting it on CloudStation, my platform. So this is a wrapper function that I created. It's open source as well. So that allows me to actually use the F5TTS using API. So basically, yeah, for the F5TTS, I just give it the reference audio URL. So in this case, I took your voice, Max.
Took some liberties there, I see.
I did ask for consent. Do
You
not
did, honestly, you did.
So the idea, the reason I'm doing this way is because today I only have your voice, but the idea is to, next time I ask Spectra to generate a video, I'm gonna ask it, Spectra, make Max generate a video for me, and then it's gonna generate the video using your voice or using any other voice that I have. Basically, right now I just put my dad's voice and your voice. So it takes then the query from the previous agent, and then it creates audio files. It's very fast, actually. It creates the audio in less than 10 seconds. So I don't know what else can do this fast. It stores it then in the MinIO. So MinIO is an S3 alternative. It's a S3 bucket. And then if it all goes well, we store it then in the audio table in NoCoDB, and then I send back the response to the voice agent.
At this point, how does our NoCoDB look like, just to get a sort of a mental picture?
Yeah, so at this point, we are in the audio file section, and this is what it looks like. This part I put incomplete because I trust F5 CTS. So I have all the audio URLs that I generated, and then they're all linked together with their sentence ID. This way, everything is still organized to this point.
One like realization I'm having right now, obviously there's a lot going on, right? And there's like some like, recursive linking and all this stuff. But I think what's wild is that if you break it down, none of these steps seem very scary. None of these steps seem, oh my goodness, like that's so complicated. I could never wrap my head around it. It's just kind of breaking down the problem into small problems, doing that in an organized way, making sure that things have the right IDs, right storage and organization. But like, would you agree? How did it feel when you were building it?
So I actually build stuff from the end, if that makes sense. But I start at the end, and then I build the big blocks. So the one big block that I needed to figure out first is the audio files. So first, I just created the very first part that I created is just this, so small, just a tool that generates audio out of text and the reference audio. That's it. After the audio files are generated, the prompt generator agent then starts to work. And it's the same, it's gonna sound repetitive, but it's literally the same stuff. So it's just another agent that has another set of tools and that reports back to the mother agent.
So Omnia, once the prompt's generated and saved in NoCodeDB, what happens next?
So once that is done, the Spectra agent is gonna ask then the image generator agent to create the images. It's the same, just calls an API. In this case, it's calling the Focus API. Again, it's an open source model that you can host pretty much anywhere. In my case, I'm hosting it on my platform. So what it does, it's a simple HTTP call to the Focus API with the prompt that I generated before in prompt generator agent, and that's it. Then I save everything, and then I return it back to the Spectra agent. Then once we have the images, the audio, the captions, we can create the video, and that's where the video combiner tool comes. This is an agent as well. The video combiner agent comes to action, and this one is a bit tricky because I couldn't find any open source software that does this the simple way, so I had to write a little bit of code. But I used an open source library called Capacity. It's by a YouTuber as well, to make the captions the colors that you saw earlier in the video. So that was a very good software to use. But yeah, so the combine media agent or the video combiner agent, what it does, it gets the sentences from the table, from the NoCodeDB table, and then it gets the images. Because we have the sentences, we have the ID of each prompt, I get the image URL also, and it has the same structure as before, role and goal. It has the role to gather all the media that we have created and to organize them. So for each sentence, I need the image that comes with it, and I need the audio file that comes with it. It can't be all scrambled. It directs the agents to create the JSON that I will need for the combine scripts that I created to work. So, and this is where the Capacity library comes in. So all I need to do is add some settings, like I can change the font size, font color, and all of that stuff easily with just an API. Other stuff, so it has some the order of stuff. It has to not skip any of the sentences. I did play a lot with this prompt before I got it right at the end. But yeah, it's just this is the way you do anyways, playing around with prompts.
I overstand that. That's been my experience as well. A lot of the time comes in the in the iterating on your prompts and whatnot.
When everything is gathered, it creates a JSON body that I will then send to the scripts that I created. It's called VideoForge. You can host it anywhere. Again, in my case, I'm hosting it on my platform. It takes all the files, the audio, the caption, the sentences, all of that, takes them into a video, and then I save them into Min.io to have them organized. If it's successful, then I save the video into NoCodeDB and I send the response back to Spectra. Then Spectra comes back to me and gives me the video URL.
Wow, amazing. My takeaways is that there's some complexity going on, right? But how breaking down the problem, there's some relatively simple agents, and I think a lot of the magic happens in a lot of your prompting, right? Which you were saying you're having AI help you generate those prompts. Is that right?
Yeah. Master prompts are whatsoever.
Amazing. And I'm curious, why did you choose n8n for kind of orchestrating out all your AI agents here?
Well, like you saw here, the creation of AI agents is pretty simple. Now that there's more tools that were added into n8n, it makes it like I don't have to do anything. Like it's done with AI, it's done through n8n. I don't have to specify anything, which makes it really, really easy to do. And also the fact that if there is anything that I can't find, I can just recreate it using the HTTP request node, which I like. So that's why I chose n8n for this.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing, for building out this use case. Will this be something that you're publishing as a template for other folks?
I will put it out. I will put it out for everyone to see, but it's, as you can see, it's complex. So I'm gonna make a YouTube video on how to mix everything together, create the tables, all of that, to make it a little bit more approachable.
Fantastic. And if people want to follow along on that journey, where can they follow you?
Oh, right now, I have a YouTube channel. It's my name with 2 A's because someone took my name. So yeah, my YouTube channel. I'm also available on LinkedIn.
Cool. I'm assuming at this point there will be links somewhere here, there, left, right, center, depending which platform you're watching this on. So go check Oumnya out. She does some really cool work. And I think with CloudStation, there's a lot of cool value you're providing for folks that want to use open source stuff, but not necessarily, expert developers, right? Like present company included. I'm a flowgrammer. I'm not a developer. So Oumnya, thank you so much for your time. And please do let me know when you evolve this workflow a bit, because I'd love to have you come back on and show us the journey of Spectra.
All right, I will do. Thank you very much, Max, for having me. It was a blast talking to you, and I hope we do this again.
Absolutely, we will. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
That was a wild flow, right? Thanks a bundle, Oumnya. Really love the energy. We're gonna have to get her back on the show. So that's all for this week. Tell me what you liked in the comments, and while you're at it, mash that like button. It's a real source of motivation when I'm descending down into the automation mines to go unearth that next use case. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next week.